is a video of the Chan 2024 trophy making its way to TV 47 right here at Cape Media Limited and Radio 47 as well. That trophy has been contested with, between Morocco and Madagascar.
Yes, beautiful moments there. And many guys here took pictures with the trophy. Did you get a chance to take a picture of the trophy?
By that time I was...
Not even with Victor Wanyama?
Not even.
Wasted moments. Karibu sana, this is Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indimuli. Up and ready to kickstart your day. 125 days left to the end of 2025. Yes, yeah, Christmas tuangoja tulisema intervals of 10, 10. But sasa tunasema 25 to the end of the year.
Okay. Yesterday you said it was 120?
120 days to Christmas by yesterday.
Okay. My name is Anna Odida. Let's take a look at the local dailies and news, of course, making headlines regionally as well. The Standard, The Untouchables, here they are. Front page.
New bid to amend the Constitution. Daily Nation still going with the theme of Katiba Day yesterday.
People Daily, how opposition strongholds are rising. A breakdown of the opposition leaders and projected voters.
I like the way they've done their page. Yeah.
Okay.
On the Star, shake up and new laws paves way for NSC listing of parastatals. And yeah, this one is independent and totally different.
Taifa Leo, mpasuko wanukia ODM.
And Business Daily, how Kenya Pipeline auction will fuel 500 billion shillings NSC gains, and you realize there's no single headline that matches the other. Kila mtu akona story yake kando. Meaning there's no big story, not even the Constitution.
All important.
All important, yeah.
Yes.
All right, on State of the Nation, we'll be having these three gentlemen in studio. Political analyst Zakaria Baraza. Dr. Peter Mbai makes a comeback. He's a Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at DCP. And Wilson Sosion, who was a former SG of KNUT, as well as a former MP. That coming your way at 6:30 this morning. All
right. Let's cross over to Uganda. New phase CEC takes shape. Battle of the Titans, and President Museveni sat at the Kololo Independence grounds past midnight to ensure the polls for the NRM Central Executive Committee leadership was steered in the right direction following tense battles across seats. The story has been covered on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages.
You, this is what everyone is talking about in Uganda right now, especially between these two ladies, Anita Among and this one called
Alitwala.
Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga. They're very senior officials in the government. This one is a deputy Prime Minister, and she's a Speaker of Parliament. But now they're competing for the one position of Deputy Vice Chairperson of the party, which is reserved for women. Ilikuwa moto nasikia Museveni angetoka hapo. Huyu anamka anaambia, Mr. Chairman, I've served with you for all these years. Why are you doing this for me? Unakumbuka ile saitoti ile karibu akasirike. There come a time. Ilikuwa imefika hapo, then Anita Among emerged victorious.
Wow.
Telling you.
Lakini Anita is Museveni diehard.
Yeah, but have you seen the amount of times we've had Anita Among on the headlines? Yes.
Kuna time amemwita God.
I'm telling you.
All right, they're here. Vice Chair Eastern, Calvin David Echude took the lead. Vice Chair Western, Dr. Chris, hiyo jina hapo, Brayo Munusi. Ni kama Kiluya ya huko. Central Region, Vice Chair Kampala and Vice Chair Northern, all the winners are right here on the front page of the Daily Monitor. But
you can imagine the way we are complaining that the speaker in Kenya is too political. Is too Uko. The speaker is fighting for the ruling party's position.
Wow.
You can imagine how the situation is in Uganda.
Other stories here. Uganda boosts sniffer dog numbers at airport to check illegal wildlife trade. Statecraft Onyango's retirement comeback. Catholic priests lead from the front in farming conservation. And on the top strip, rise in global flower trade puts Uganda in bed of roses. And that's the Daily Monitor.
Still in Uganda, the New Vision still talks about that battle of the Titans. Juzi walikuwa amesema the queens are fighting for the king's eye. So Among takes the day. Yeah, she is now the deputy vice chairperson, I think, of the party. Yeah, ahead of the 2026 polls in January. So delegates have endorsed Museveni for presidency come 2026. But the bribery claims were many. Watu walikuwa na mwaga pesa proper. Siasa huko na yetu sio tofauti sana pale pale. Other quick stories here, why iPod rejected 2 opposition parties. And yeah, that's the new vision. Matters NRM and these 2 ladies, Anita Among and the other one, Kadaga.
Is it Kadaga or Kadogo? Kadaga it is.
Alitwala Kadaga.
All right, let's cross over to Tanzania now. Gazeti la Mwananchi, zamu ya wananchi. INEC yakamilisha mchakato uteuzi wa wagombea wa rais, waanza kupita kwa wananchi kunadi sera, kampeni zikianza rasmi leo, na mashangingi ya INEC kwa wagombea yazua mjadala mpya. So campaign starts officially today.
Official campaigns kickstart today. Now they have all the people who are vying for the presidency there. Remember they said there were 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I think there's one more. Lakini ni kama alikatazwa huyu mpina hapa chini. Huyu mpina kulikuwa na shida. The registrar actually struck his name off the list of guys vying for presidency. Yeah, Samia Suluhu Hassan yuko pale na CCM. Kuna wengine zaidi lakini Tundu Lissu yuko pale, yuko baroni bado anapigana ile kesi. Chadema ni kama wameumia because ukiangalia hapa Chadema hawana mgombea
candidate.
Yeah. That's the biggest opposition party. Hawana candidate. Tangu ile pronouncement ya koti, nyinyi mambo yenu na siasa mwache kwanza.
All right. October 29th or 20th?
October 29th.
Right. Election day for Tanzania. Mpina na INEC ni mwendo wa sheria, kanuni. Na mwanasheria wa ACT anasema hapa kwamba hakuna kifungu cha katiba kinachoipatia INEC mamlaka ya kumpokonya mgombea haki ya kurejesha fomu. Ni mara ya kwanza wanaona jambo kama hili duniani. Anasema kwamba INEC imeamua kutekeleza maagizo kutoka kwa barua ya msajili bila hata kusikiliza upande wao. Huu ni ukiukwaji wa haki ya hali ya juu.
INEC is the Independent Electoral Commission in Tanzania. Hao ndio walisema wewe ni kama hiyo fomu yako hatutaki, usilete.
The IEBC.
The IEBC.
Okay, wagombea wapewa mashangingi mapya. That story still on page 2. And aliyeishi hospitali miaka 17 aungana na familia yake. On the top strip, mwili waopolewa mtaroni Jangwani, polisi yachunguza. Anasema mwili wa mtu mmoja.
Maliza tu.
Mwili wa mtu mmoja umekutwa ukielea majini kwenye mtaro uliopo Jangwani, jirani na kilipokuwa kituo cha mabasi ya mwendo kasi.
Sasa something different masuala ya elections kule Tanzania ni hii. Kila mgombea wa urais anapewa gari na INEC. Ni kama IEBC, if you're vying for presidency kuna gari unapewa. So wanasema huu ndio mfano wa magari yaliyokabidhiwa wagombea wa nafasi ya urais waliopitishwa na INEC kwa ajili ya kurahisisha ufanyaji wa kampeni kwenye maeneo mbalimbali nchini. Kila mgombea aliyekidhi vigezo na kupitishwa alikabidhiwa gari. Hatua hiyo inatajwa ni utekelezaji wa matakwa ya sheria na baada ya uchaguzi yatarejeshwa.
Okay.
So kila mtu anapewa, the 18 of them, kila mtu anapewa V8. Endafanya campaign, ukimaliza rudisha gari. Mambo tofauti kwa jirani, tofauti kabisa.
Lakini it helps. Ama sisi wako nayo.
I think it's something that probably should emulate that if you can assist those who've qualified for to vie for presidency to get a car for campaigns, even better.
Yeah. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
Ready, set, go.
Steady, go.
Yes. Ready, steady, go. Ndio mwenyekiti wa INEC huyu hapa. Alafu ndio wagombea urais wamechorwa hapo. Huyo mkubwa hapo ni Samia Suluhu Hassan. Huyu mpina wa ACT ameenda kotini. Meanwhile, he's gone to court over a decision to disqualify him from the election. But now the 2-month presidential campaign period commences today with 17 contenders cleared by the Independent National Electoral Commission to battle it out ahead of the October 29 general election. Yes. Wasema the date in October campaigns will end. They will end a day before the election. That's 28th. So 2 months from now, 28th. Yes, 2 months. That's a big story there on the front page of the Citizen Matters election. Official campaigns kick off. Ready, steady, go. All right.
We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies. Tuangalie hali ya anga inakaa vipi. It's quite warm today.
Yes, and most parts of the country are getting warmer. And you start off at the coast in Kilifi, 23 degrees. Partly cloudy today, very little chance of rainfall, highs of 28 degrees kule Kilifi. 2.7 millimeters precipitation.
All right, Garissa, 23 degrees. Kama Kilifi, feels like 25 this morning. It's a partly cloudy day and highs of 33 degrees. Precipitation in Garissa today is 0.1 millimeters.
Nayoni, very warm. I think that's the warmest we'll see. In Eldoret, it's still a bit chilly, 13 degrees Celsius, feels like 14. Chance of rain quite high, partly cloudy, highs of 22 degrees. Mvua Pale, 6.6 millimeters, which is the highest we've seen so far. So Rift Valley areas could experience some rainfall.
All right. Weather in Homa Bay, 20 degrees. This morning feels like 24. Clear skies.
Hiyo jua ya Homa Bay naiogopa hadi sai.
Hiyo ni Nyanza yote. Ina represent. Highs of 27 degrees in Homa Bay today, and precipitation here 0.0 millimeters. Hakuna mvua hata kidogo na kutawaka.
Hiyo sasa hapo ndio najua masuala ya sunscreen sasa. Ninaelewa sasa.
Ulipewa?
In Nyeri. It's a cloudy day in Nyeri. 14 degrees as we speak, highs of 21, which is a bit warmer than yesterday. The highest temperature they experienced yesterday was 19. So precipitation right in Nyeri, 1.2 millimeters, which is way lower than what we've seen in Eldoret. Finally, Nairobi.
The city under the sun, 14 degrees, feels like it, a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 24 degrees.
Oh yes, this is a warm day.
And precipitation today, 0.2 millimeters. Our warmest of the day is Homa Bay's warmest today, this morning.
Oh, it's the lowest in Homa Bay is our highest in Nairobi.
Yes.
All right.
Hi. Hali ya traffic? Back to school?
Well, kuna wale wamechelewa kurudi shule, lakini, you know, even those who just go to school around Nairobi, they're crowding the roads. But jana, ile shida najua ilikuwa Thika Road, leo ni kama hakuna. It's looking good on Thika Road, all the way from Ruiru, past Kahawa, Garrison, all the way past Githurai, past Kasarani, all the way to the Pangani interchange. Today, Thika Road, mna bahati. Outer Ring Road, a bit of traffic at areas like Fedha and Tasia, Pipeline Pale, but nothing out of the ordinary. Jogoo Road is looking much better than it was yesterday. Unaona hapa Machakos bus station imepunguka because yesterday it was red, this whole stretch. Hata ile ilikuwa pale Haile Selassie Avenue from Uhuru Park getting into town. It's getting easier. So traffic appears to be easing. Back to school tumemaliza kidogo, sasa tunazoeana na wale wenye wanaenda shule hapa Nairobi. This other side of town, everything is green, so not so bad. That's the traffic situation this morning. 13
minutes past 6 a.m. Let's take a look at the GOtv video.
Our mindsets shape our reality, where one sees only obstacles and problems, another finds chances for growth, learning, and triumph amid life challenges and uncertainty.
Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. The Untouchables is the main headline on the front page of the Standard this morning. Fraud Aden Duale has built a career thriving on controversy and is now presiding over a ministry mired in ghost hospitals and fraudulent payouts. The Social Health Authority Chairman Abdi Mohammed is equally at the center of a multi-billion shilling scam, with MPs linking him to phantom facilities and shady payments. Together, the two epitomize a culture of impunity where public outrage never translates into accountability. Even as lawmakers demand their resignations, they do stand insulated by proximity to power, unshaken and unrepentant. Do you know he responded to this newspaper?
Yes, in fact, he has tweeted and used this front page of the Standard on his Twitter page. And curiously, the president yesterday talked about corruption again and said SHA has to work. It is part of the discussions we'll be having. He said it has to work. Those systems are working. But it's clearly fraud. And there's attempts to defraud the fund. So the president said they will arrest them and they'll make sure they go to court. But who are these? If at all, this paper can actually point out and say, who are you? Kuna kitu amefanya. Si basi mtu, at least we see mtu mmoja amekuwa arrested. He said the same thing about MPs. That MPs are corrupt and they will be arrested.
According to Kitutu Chache South Member of Parliament, that is Anthony Kibagendi, he says, we now demand the resignation of CS Aden Duale and Chairman of SHA. We also want a commission of inquiry into SHA within 48 hours. If this is not done, they will call on all Kenyans to act. How? They say this level of impunity and theft cannot go unchallenged.
That's a problem with MPs. They're asking Kenyans to act. They have all the power to summon this CS.
Yeah.
Yes. They have all the powers to actually conduct a probe or institute an inquiry if they want to. Why not go ahead?
The CS said that CEO SHA had already left Ladnan Hospital, which was his. So he's not associated. There's no conflict of interest.
Why shouldn't we allow an independent inquiry to actually clear that up and say that there is no connection between this gentleman and that hospital? Why don't we just do that? Why should the CS come and defend this person?
Yeah.
Is it his role to defend the chairperson?
Of SHA.
Yeah.
Raila is one of a kind. His response to this, let's just highlight that as well. He said the Standard Gutter Press has now embarked on a retrogressive ethnic profiling. My advice is for chair and shareholders to pay their staff salaries that is due for last 12 months.
And deflecting.
He says the Kenya healthcare delivery is undergoing a major transformation under UHC that is accessible, affordable, equity and quality healthcare for the people, period. Akasema period.
He has not addressed the issue, the questions being asked.
Yes.
He has not addressed. He's talking about this media house not paying salaries. That has nothing to do with SHA. He's talking about tribalism because both him and the chairperson of SHA come from the same region.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with SHA. He still hasn't addressed the issue. Bona CS, I know you don't like journalists, but hey, you will need to answer.
Fred.
You will need to answer a few questions. Kwani ni ukweli tu.
All right, other stories given prominence on the front page of The Standard. Drama's police block Ruoba and former nominated senator's efforts to gain access to the Senate to present her reinstatement papers following a court ruling hit a dead end after a confrontation with the police who dragged her away yesterday. It was messy. Hiyo picha hapo.
Lakini anapenda drama.
Haikai mzuri hiyo picha hapo mbele. Surely. All right, it looks like the Chan Trophy was also there as well. Other stories here, impeachment motion, a political conspiracy to oust me, says Mutai, and Kericho governor accuses MCAs and speakers of malice in their second impeachment bid. And the Senate to first determine if 2/3 threshold was met before proceeding with hearings.
Hapa page 3 ndio nataka tuseme. Ruto says he will prosecute individuals and hospitals behind SHA millions. He broke his silence yesterday on the Social Health Authority scandal, warning that stern action will be taken against hospitals and individuals implicated in the heist. He said the same thing about MPs, that they would be arrested. He won't bother with shaming them. He'll just arrest them. We need some action. We just need some action. We've seen 3 years where the ODPP has just been withdrawing cases. High-profile corruption cases, top government officials. Arresting should go beyond this. Yes.
SHA imekuja kusema chonjo. Let me take over from here after NHIF. And they say Dwale on page 4, Ruto man with a knack for stalking storms in plum dockets. They called him once the Ruto blue-eyed boy. Calls mount for CS to resign over SHA scam. Here at the center of this is the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association chairman, that is Brian Lishenga. They still make mention of Katiba at 15 this week. I think we're celebrating Katiba at 15, and Kenya marks 15 years of supreme law amid gender parity challenge. You know, Hans yesterday said that Kenya is too small for 47 counties, and Raila Odinga said the same.
Well, that is a big discussion. I think it is a subject of the next paper. We'll be looking at that. Pale Nyuma Chan, of course, in anticipation of kuna millions mob. 452 million bob is the amount of money that Chan 2024 champions will pocket this coming Saturday. So will it be Morocco or Madagascar? The third place playoff will be played at Nambole Stadium in Kampala. That's Sudan versus Senegal. That's the standard. Daily Nation, new bid to amend the constitution. Yes, yesterday there was a special event at the KICC to celebrate 15 years anniversary of the constitution. Now on the 15th anniversary of this constitution, politicians revived the campaign to amend the charter, rekindling previous failed attempts, including one fronted by the former government, that's the BBI, that was scuttled by the Supreme Court, Saikuna Nadco, Na Raila anakuja na ideas mingi. Juzi alisema even education should be fully devolved to the counties. Sasa amesema tena counties ni mingi sana.
Yeah.
But now he suggested a third tier of government. So you have the 47 counties. Then you have regional blocks, like 8 of them. Then you have the national government. So you have a 3-tier government. So alikuwa anasema hizo ni mingi sana, hizo ni ndogo. Nafaa tukuwe na ingine kubwa kiasi, about 8.
Okay.
I'm telling you, a very lovely photo there of children aged 15 years, a symbolic representation of the constitution enacted in 2010. Hawa wajui hiyo mambo ya kitambo. Hawa wanaona tu hii. All right, so Raila Odinga appears to have directed now that discussion about amending the constitution to matters devolution. Should we get a third tier of government? Yes?
Did he say to 13 counties? From 47 to 13?
No. He just talked about a third tier of government. He just said it's such a small space to have 47 counties. All right, so that's the main story there. On the back page of this paper, the might of Morocco versus the dream of Madagascar. Oh, what a final matchup. And we're just hoping that Kenyans will show up at the Kasarani Stadium for the finals. Because the game that was played in Tanzania for the semi-finals, kulikuwa na watu watatu kwa stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So come this Sunday, hopefully there'll be
Will they though? Wakenya wamekasirika
at the stadium. All right, that's a Daily Nation. Let's move on to the next paper.
People Daily, how opposition strongholds are rising, and they're here on the front page. Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Martha Karua, Fred Matiang'i, and Mithika Linturi. Kuna mwingine amewajoin lakini hatuwaoni hapa. Boniface Mwangi.
Huyo hayuko hiyo United Opposition. Nearly launched 2 presidential bids.
Ako kivyake, independent candidate.
Independent.
All right. 22.1 million to 27.8 million Kenyans voter roll expected to rise from that number in 2022 to nearly 27.8 million by 2027. They say a projected number of Luo, Kalenjins, Maasai, Somali, Coastal and Indian voters that coalition could yield 14.1 million votes, surpassing the imagined.
I know that's what we do. We break it down by communities, but it sounds so awkward having it on the front page. We're saying Luos, Kalenjin, and Maasai and Somalis will be this number
together.
Yeah, I think this is what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah.
If you talk to Gen Zs, they don't want to listen to this. Yeah. So even the media, I think we should follow suit. But then again, it's a practical way of looking at it. But should we be perpetrating the same message? People Daily.
Wamesema coalition of cousins. This story is on page 5 of this newspaper. Duale Roba in battle for control of northern Kenya votes. That story is on page 8. And on the top strip, old wine, new bottle. Ruto using old Moi tactics to rule. That story is a special feature on page 4. That's the People Daily.
Right. The Star, fresh, independent, different, and it's definitely different. Not talking about anything political here as a main headline. They talk about shake-up, new law paves way for NSC listing of parastatals. KAA, KPA, Kenya Railways to join KPC in public offer. Remember this, there was a motion in Parliament, a bill for privatizing KPC. Lakini ilikuja ile wakati MPs walikuwa wamekasirika that president had called them corrupt. They had to withdraw because if they had debated, that bill would have been defeated. Walikuwa wamesema we are dropping it today. Yes. So the speaker withdrew it. They went on recess. Probably it will be reintroduced after they calm down. MPs demand resignation of CS Duale over SHA scandal is another story there, but will we see anything? The president has also said people will be arrested. Nothing. At least matters opposition politics and the race for 2027 still featuring on the front page. Opposition and Ruto marshal forces for 2027 showdown. Iko mbali. Elections at Tanzania go 2 months. The Uganda, they're in like 4 or 5 months. Let's bother with those ones. 2027, I feel, is a bit too far. It's almost 2 years away. Yes, that's a Star. Na pale nyuma McCarthy's choice. Now Ben McCarthy, Harambee Stars coach, is focusing on the World Cup qualifiers. So Coach Benny McCarthy has unveiled a star-studded 23-man squad. I mean, it's 33. Let me see this. 23-man Harambee Stars called for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, blending youth and experience. I think we should be focusing on this because it's coming sooner than the elections. That's the Star. Fresh, independent, different.
All right. Taifa Leo, mpasuko wanukia ODM, and they just oppose it with Kenya Moja. Wanachama ODM walioashiria kutoridhishwa na maamuzi ya chama, Edwin Sifuna, Timothy Bosire, Dadho Godhana, Babu Owino na Caleb Amisi. Nasema chama cha ODM kinachoongozwa na Raila Odinga kinaendelea kuyumba huku kikikaribia kuadhimisha miaka 20 tangu kianzishwe, na wakati huo kikijiandaa kwa uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027. Gavana Dadho aliyechaguliwa kwa chama hicho ni wa hivi karibuni zaidi kukitelekeza. The story is on page 2. Trump sasa arushia India mzigo mzito. Vidokezo vingine katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Ushuru wa USA kwa bidhaa kutoka India waanza kutekelezwa. Hofu kuhusu fidia ya bomba Lamu, na wakazi wa Lamu waliotarajia kupokea mamilioni ya fidia watamauka, watumia mamilioni kunasa Trump. Anasema kwamba wanasiasa wakuu wanaomezea urais watumia pesa nyingi kuvutia Amerika. The top strip, wabunge wataka Duale nje, wamempa waziri wa afya Duale makataa ya saa 48 kujiuzulu. Masala ya spoti pale, soko la wachezaji la noga. Makataa ya kuuza na kusajili wachezaji Uingereza ni Jumatatu. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
All right, finally, Business Daily, how Kenya pipeline auction will fuel half a trillion shillings, yes? 500 billion shillings. NSC gains. The CMA tips boss to reach 3 trillion shilling mark on IPO. And the Treasury is seeking 100 billion shillings from sale of stake in KPC, which is still a subject of parliamentary proceedings. The Capital Markets Regulator is forecasting that the sale of a 65% stake in Kenya Pipeline Company through an initial public offering will fuel an estimated $500 billion shillings gain in the market value of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The other story given prominence here, KRA removes manual tax filing for salaried workers. Wanasema naita wagusa wengi. Wanasema sasa KRA has spared salaried workers from having to file annual tax returns manually following integration of its internal systems, easing the compliance headache. On the ticker, underwriter profits hit by 28 billion shilling surge. KQ share price down 20% after posting half-year loss. Walirudi kwa losses tena. After posting a big profit, Sunny lost tena. And finally, Eurobond yields dip after rating upgrade. That's Matters Business on the Business Daily.
State of the Nation.
State of the Nation, Wilson Sosion, Dr. Peter Mbai, and Zakaria Baraza will be in studio in a few minutes' time. Do stand by for that.
Tuangalie karikacha sasa. We start off with the People Daily. The beans zinamwagwa hapa.
And I spill the beans on SHA, graft, MPs, affordable housing, Senate, kila kitu.
Na wale wawili wako kule, broad-based government inashangaa sana. Raila Odinga and the president. People Daily, that one.
Cartoon, same person, the former deputy president. Sasa anasema wale wana watch TV. Out goes Chan, in comes the former deputy president. Normal programming resumes. Tulikuwa tumeenda break ya football. But according to this cartoonist, tumerudi zile siasa zetu za kawaida.
Nitatafuta that tweet so that I can back it up. Nisikuwa I said it. Watu walikuwa nasema.
Kuja
na swara. That is why Kenya walishindwa anyway. This is the Standard. Wanaongelea SHA again today. SHA iko hospitali lakini wanaongezwa damu na nani huyu?
Huyu yaongeze damu, huyu ananyonya damu huyu.
Aiongezi.
Badala ya kuongeza damu kwa mgonjwa, ananyonya hiyo damu.
Anaitwa aje mwenye mgonjwa anashangaa sana.
Masala ale, wewe mgonjwa yenyewe anaumia.
Ina actually thought anaongeza damu lakini damu
yeye mwenyewe ananyonya.
All right.
All right.
Later on, we'll be having this conversation with Peris Mbudia, a medical aesthetician at Timeless Medical Spa. Matters skincare. Kuja ujue difference ya skincare na makeup ni gani. You know, one time I said kitu about skincare, and up to today watu wamekwambia, oh, that is makeup, that is makeup. Now, kuja leo ujifunze.
Ndio ile ilikuwa ati skincare regime.
skincare regime. Okay. Today we are talking about skincare regime.
Especially ukitoka Homa Bay, you need a skincare regime.
All right. Those are the stories making headlines and the conversations we'll be having today on the show. Do interact with us on our socials. 22047 is our SMS line. On X, TV47 Digital. My handle on X is at @Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle on X is at Fred Indimuli, and we still have
Facebook and YouTube, TV47 Kenya.
All right.
We still have?
No.
Facebook and YouTube. Okay. See you after the break.
All right.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look
for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
The ODM boss Raila Odinga now proposes a relook at the whole issue of devolution, arguing that Kenya is too tiny for 47 devolved units. Raila appearing to propose a reduction of the counties from the current 47 as created by the 2010 Constitution.
I believe the time has come for the country to relook the whole issue of devolution. Kenya, in my view, is too tiny for 47 devolved units.
And in his continued quest to deny members of parliament the role in the National Government Constituency Development Fund (GCDF), Raila says it is impossible for the lawmakers to oversight and implement at the same time. Raila has been championing for the monies in the NGCDF kitty to be under county governments.
Because if you are yourself a contractor and you are a member of parliament, who is oversighting you? I have said this amendment that you brought to the parliament, bring it there. But let us take it to the people. Let us take it to a referendum and test if the people will accept it. Let us check if the people will accept that members of parliament can be oversighting and also implementing at the same time. Over this, there's no compromise.
And as Kenya marks 15 years of the current constitution, corruption has been pointed as the biggest hindrance to its implementation. President William Ruto accusing, among others, the judiciary of corruption. Ruto calls it juris pesa. Ruto says that corruption exists in all arms of government and poses a serious challenge. His sentiments echoed by Odinga, who is accusing some independent commissions and bodies in the country for failing the country, among them the National Police Service.
I am aware of the vigorous and often unsettling conversation around terms like jury pesa. As painful as this may be, they cannot be ignored.
The National Police Service, in my view, has left us worse off than we were before 2010. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission equally stands out as an institution that has made no progress securing for Kenyans what they sought.
Judiciary does not exercise overreach. When we interpret the Constitution, we are merely breathing life and spirit to the Constitution.
Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Yes, 15th anniversary of the Constitution is still a big discussion on Morning Cafe and other media. This morning it is a main Headline on the front page of the Daily Nation, new bid to amend the Constitution. Very interesting proposals there from the Right Honourable Raila Odinga on matters devolution, and that's where we start. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning, beginning with Professor Fred Ogola, governance and economics expert. Karibu sana Bwana Ogola.
Thank you, Fred.
We also have Wilson Sosion, Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, a former SG of the National Union of Teachers, also a former member of the National Assembly. Karibu sana. Zakaria Barasa, political analyst, also joins us this morning. And Dr. Peter Mbai, Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at DCP. Gentlemen, karibuni sana. And we start off on that constitutional note. Matters, possibility of amending the Constitution, Professor Fred Ogola. Should that be the discussion right now as we mark 15 years, that we need to change a few things, especially on devolution, as proposed by Bwana Odinga?
First of all, if you look at some of the most advanced constitutions, after they launched the first one, like countries like South Africa, you go to like the US, they tend to amend it much faster because normally when you launch the constitution, when you start seeing the gaps that are existing. So there's already a few gaps which are there. Devolution is seen to be one of the burden Kenyans are carrying. Remember, the initial one was to have 14 counties. It just went to 47 because of some sort of greed. But also I have to say that if you demarcate Kenya into economic blocks as an economist, the largest you can get is Kenya can only come up with 11 economic blocks. And I could even say when I wrote the manifesto for Azimio, we came with the regional manifesto, and you could actually put this country into 11 economic blocks. So the counties were more tribal lines than economic blocks, and therefore the burden of the counties is overbearing on people by having 47. Remember, Fred, can you imagine we have 47 sergeant at arms? Yes, used to have one. We have now 47 deputy sergeant at arms. Now we used to have one. So can you imagine everything that was a National Assembly has been devolved downwards, but with no actually impact to the people? You look at the funds that comes from the national government to the counties, 85% is shared between the executive in the county assembly and the county assembly. So citizens are remaining only with 15%. Maybe if you wash a car of a politician, or maybe if they eat in a restaurant is what you get. And yet money was supposed to go to the people. So I would think that there's a need for a serious review to align. But at the same time, implementation of the Constitution has not been done well. If you ask me one thing I would like to add in this Constitution, Article 1 of the Constitution says the sovereign power belongs to the people, but politicians only give provisions for how it can be exercised indirectly, but not directly. I will look for a country whereby citizens can recall the president directly without having to go through parliament, because then people don't have to die on the street shouting one time.
All right, what about Sosion? Are we being too critical of devolution, which is termed as one of the biggest successes of this constitution? Because Article 6 on devolution and access to services, it's purely on access to services, not the economic viability of these devolved units. The employment, if services go down to the people, of course, it will create employment. Are we being too critical?
No, I think generally we did not get interpretation of how to implement the Constitution properly for 15 years. That's really would be the main gap. And devolution has suffered because devolution was seen as transfer of power. So the trapping of the powers became a center of excitement when devolution started off. And now you can see all the money is being gobbled up by recurrent consumption, and things to do with corruption also are rampant, and many things. So devolution is the best idea, one of the best ideas of the Constitution. And I think devolution alone, we need as a country to do a thorough audit and look at the gaps in the devolution so that we make it work. Devolution must be made to work, because this was giving people the power to decide on what they want and how they want, and particularly to deal with economic rights, matters to do with equality and equity. And so it is a very critical aspect that wish it away. And the Council of Governors and Governors must rise to the occasion and accept to be told the truth. The problem is that those in those offices and those having interest tend to be extremely defensive. When the president spoke about corruption in one institution, and I'm happy yesterday it came out very clearly about corruption in all institutions. The greatest impediment to successful devolution is corruption practice, which indeed was devolved. And I think in all these aspects of looking at the success of the Constitution, where we need to put a lot of efforts and to ensure that it works, is actually devolution.
Do you agree with that proposal to reduce the number of counties? Would that reduce the problem of corruption?
No, reducing the counties does not reduce corruption. We deal with corruption as an isolated challenge and make sure, and as I've always said, let the country have a Damascus moment, all of us, and agree unanimously. We must be unanimous as a nation and deal with it. The moment we do that, then devolution will bear true meaning and benefits to the people at the grassroots. I saw a proposal by Raila Odinga that we can now have a three-tier system. It's a debate that we can still look at, so that then within the economic blocks, we have a supra-organized leadership, but then that should also be recalibrated with the counties therein, and how do we reduce governance cost, how do we reduce recurrence, so that we have more resources going to development, more revenue being raised, rather than relying on the national to complement what the national government is doing, so that it can deliver on the basic mandates. And probably devolution may eventually attract more functions.
Wouldn't we be clawing back on some of the gains, Bwana Barasa? Because what we are seeing right now, the Constitution was intended to ensure that the obsession with the power at the center, the presidency, is diluted a bit and focused more on the devolved units. But it would appear we are still focusing on the presidency going forward.
You see, the biggest problem we have in Kenya is about power. If you look at all these politicians, what they're looking at is power. And the unfortunate thing is that those people who we fought for devolution, but once devolution got to the counties, all those people are also looking at power. How can they maintain that power? They are not there to deliver services to the common mwananchi. And the biggest problem is when the Constitution was being made, there are institutions that were meant to check the Constitution. But are those institutions working? They're not working. Look at, for example, corruption. Corruption has been devolved. Look at all the counties. If you ask mwananchi, is he getting the services that were meant for? He's not. But if you look at how much money is being taken to the county, for example, you can see like my county, we've gotten more than 130 billion. But go to the ground. Is common mwananchi enjoying the services of 130 billion? It's not there. So the biggest impediment we have in Kenya is corruption. If we are able to fight corruption, everything will just be put in place. The reason being, you look at politicians. A politician giving out 3 million, he has a salary of 900,000 or 1 million. But in every function, he's giving 3 million, 4 million. Are those institutions that were put to account for to put politicians to account for the money, are they working? They're not working. Look at SHA and whatever. Until civil society came up until civil society came out saying, look, SHA money is being stolen. But we have institutions like EACC, what are they doing? Right. Until the president comes out to lament that, look, money is being stolen, someone has to be held accountable.
We'll talk about corruption in a while. On this issue of devolution, because I don't want us to miss the point, because the suggestion by Raila Odinga, and coming from him, it would just as well mean that it's going to be a big discussion going forward. Do you agree with him that probably we need to look at the structure of devolution?
No, we don't. What we need to do, we need to implement the Constitution fully. The question is, we passed a new Constitution. Has it been fully implemented? It has not. Look at the gender parity and what have you. So how do you start amending when you have not even fully implemented what was passed? So the question is, right now what we need to look at is how do we fully implement this Constitution? Two, how do we make sure that those institutions that were put checks and balances on the Constitution are working? Because most of those institutions have been compromised. They are toothless. Yeah.
What do you think, Dr. Mbaya, is the biggest failure of this constitution? 15 years on, we should have gotten it right by now. We seem to be still confused on how to implement this constitution.
Thanks so much, Fred. First of all, happy anniversary, Katiba. You know, Fred, even in your birthday, you don't have to declare it. It is there, whether you go and announce it on radio that you are now, this is your birthday, really. We didn't need a proclamation of a Katiba. It's an anniversary, every 27th, whether it's declared or not for the last 14 years. So that's number one. So we don't need a lot of drama around it. So, but you have asked a question, and Fred, I'll tell you, the biggest impediment is that there is no political goodwill to simply implement. If you remember Gen Zs last year, when they went to the streets, they were called for dialogue. What did they say? No, we don't need to talk. Just do the right thing and implement the constitution. That's what they said. There lacks political goodwill because, interestingly, there are people who are ruling today who still think they can rule with the old constitution. They actually were opposed to this constitution. And instead of just saying, okay, fine, we were on the other side, now this is a new constitution. Every day you can see tricks of trying to simply pull down any gain on this constitution. Let me quickly just mention the issues you talked about yesterday with the Honorable Raila Odinga. I mean, of course, I always say that in terms of history, whom we respect, that is now another thing to steer us away. The issue of the three-tier and all that, it's another thing to steer us away. And we are saying this. The problem, or some very key areas where the constitution has been mutilated, literally being thrown out. And it is happening every day, slowly and slowly. I'll give you two or three examples now. We are in a crisis today because we don't have the limitation of boundaries. It was supposed to be happening in 2024. There were leaders in this country who knew about the timelines, right? They refused. They simply refused to constitute the IBC. Now, that is one major issue we are in about this constitution. Look at the issue. You say we avoid, of course, the issue of corruption we are going to handle. But if you look at the independence of institutions, Fred. We are supposed to respect, we have 14 independent commissions, each one of its own work. Today, the president wants to put them together under his office. Which constitution is that? Where?
But shouldn't we be focusing more on those institutions and not just the politicians? Because we seem to be saying politicians went rogue and that's why we left it to them. They're not the only ones who are supposed to be defending the constitution, are they?
Let me tell you, the constitution should be implemented by those people who come to power. Because it is a living document. Let me tell you, if there is a will to simply implement this constitution, but what we are saying is an attempt to simply claw back, slowly but slowly, to make sure that it is killed. You can go blaming a politician and all that, but the whole idea is with the executive to implement the constitution of Fred.
Okay. And the issue now here is we complain a lot about lack of implementation of this constitution and we blame the politicians. We know politicians have always been known to have very bad manners and they will always protect their interest. Yet this constitution was designed in a way that it will ensure its sanctity is sustained by the same document. How come that the structures that this constitution created are not working to defend it and politicians can do anything they want with it?
Fred, as a strategist, we have one of the fathers of management called Alfred Chandler. And he says something that can make you reflect about your question very well. He says, structure follows strategy, not strategy follows structure. This constitution was done by the structure, not that the strategy determined the structure. These people wanted 47 counties, therefore they came with the constitution to give them 47 counties. They wanted power. And I think Zachary has put it very clear. Now, even when you hear Raila Odinga saying we need to do another thing, people are just trying to reinvent themselves. Fred, we do not need devolution. Kenya needs to evolve, not devolve. We need to evolve looking at what is the blueprint for Kenya, what's the Kenyan dream. We have a crisis of leadership, not constitution. Because the leader can even go and mutilate. Since we did 2010 constitution, what changes have we seen being done, passed in parliament to mutilate the constitution? When we went to do the new constitution, people said that the original constitution had been so mutilated that we cannot even recognize it. And now, if you look at it this way, Fred, what we need is, why did we ask for devolution? We asked for devolution because it was meant that citizens were not getting the money, isn't it? Why were you not getting the money? We are not getting money to the lower level because of inequalities, tribalism, and corruption. So there's no way we can now come up and say devolution will solve corruption, will solve tribalism, and will also solve the issue of inequality. We need leadership, Fred, much more than these constitutional changes. You give a bad man a constitution, which is good, they mismanage it. Yep. But you give a good man not so perfect constitution, and it becomes lovely. So according to me, we have crisis of leadership, not constitutionalism.
Yet according to the framers of this constitution, what it was going to remedy, this new document, was the fact that whoever is in charge, whoever is running the country, whoever is in leadership will not matter. As long as this constitution is in existence, it will take care of itself. Was that a lie?
And I think that has been achieved. You know, if we audit the success of this constitution very deeply and very critically, and I would say the president issuing a proclamation that so that we have an orderly way of celebrating the Constitution and reflecting on its achievements and looking at the gaps and challenges going into the future was a bold decision, contrary to what my brother is talking about. I think in terms of democratizing the country, the Constitution has done a lot. In terms of making institutions independent and operational, the Constitution has done a lot. In terms of containing the political processes of the country to be conducted within the domains of civility and positivism, the Constitution has done a lot. There are only challenges. And I think we should have had serious reflections on the day of promulgation for the last 15 years. But better late than never. And yesterday, I was excited to see the free arms of government really give their views and point out to the gaps that needs to be addressed. We are happy to see a very independent judiciary that has come of age, and we've seen the growth towards delivery of justice to Kenyans and access to justice across all the 47 counties. That's a tremendous achievement. And even the executive accepting to share power and democratizing our politics, I think we've done well. You know, let us not assume that nothing has been done. Probably we could have done far much better to fully implement the Constitution. And I agree, before we get down to look at what needs to be amended, because it must be amended, provided we take the Constitution Amendment Review process through an orderly process where Kenyans are given civic education. This is a constitution that belongs to Kenyans, and that invites the people's participation in everything, including governance, including even its review. We should be able now to fast track what had not been implemented. Like you looked at yesterday, the talking of the public participation bill. Yes. Maybe the public participation has not worked qualitatively the way it should have been. Public demonstration bill, it is now agreed. We need that because we cannot be a banana republic. The people must enjoy the right as provided for in Article 37, but the bill must be able to act. There must be an act to assist and to ensure that is achieved. And very lastly, even the referendum. We must have as many referendums as possible, because through referendum, you really are assigning the people the power they need to exercise. And maybe we need a referendum bill. We need to have a more democratic, a more orderly country. That doesn't matter who is in any whatever position.
Allow us to take a break. Let's take a break. We'll come back to give Bonabarasa and Dr. Mbaya an opportunity to contribute to this in as far as implementation is concerned and what the clawbacks have been. You're watching Morning Cafe.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Indimuli, and I have my panel here. We continue discussing the Constitution a day after Katiba Day, where we're marking the 15th anniversary since the promulgation of this Constitution. But we're talking about the levels of the level at which we have managed to implement this document, and there are obvious gaps, mainly blamed on politicians. We did not review boundaries because politicians were reluctant and it was not what they wanted then. The gender debate in Parliament, they've not been able to enact it. Issues to do with recall, politicians are reluctant on it. And are we putting too much focus? Did we inadvertently put too much focus on politicians that we weakened the implementation of this Constitution?
Now, if you look at the biggest impediment in the implementation of the Constitution is the executive and the legislature. If you look at the executive, it wants to retain raw power. It doesn't want to be checked. If you look at the legislature, like the MPs, they are the ones who are amending and watering down the institutions that were meant to guard the Constitution. Look like they had to water down the National Police Service, whatever the act. So they have watered down all these institutions that were meant to be independent. So right now, the focus is about retaining power. Because you see, when you talk about implementation of the Constitution, what do you mean? It means that this power must trickle down to the common person. And who's holding the power? The executive. Is it willing to let this power trickle down to a common person? It does not. That's why it's now controlling the legislature, the MPs. That's why right now, if you look, there's a big war between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Why? You will see a president saying, look, the judiciary is doing A, B, C. It's giving orders left and right. And you know, those orders are meant to guide the Constitution. Because the new Constitution, there's a certain Bill of Rights that has to be protected. But you see, some of the greatest violator of the Bill of Rights is the government. So that's why we're having a big tough between the judiciary and the executive. Now, if you look at the MPs, the legislature, it has watered down since 2010. How many bills have been put in Parliament that has watered down the implementation of the Constitution? So many of them.
Yes. So do you think that there's still elements that are still experiencing a hangover of the old Constitution? Because it's not just this administration. The fact that we still have the provincial administration in place. Some people are very reluctant to let that go. CDF was there before the new Constitution, but we still have it 15 years after the new Constitution. Why is that?
Leave alone about, you see, they have now strengthened the provincial administration. Look, since 2010, initially, they have now brought down more units for the executive so that it can have power, it can have access to raw power. What I'm trying to say is this: for us to implement this Constitution, the politicians must be kept off. The reason being, politicians want power. If you look at all these politicians, they're looking at what? They're looking at power. Look at Uhuru Kenyatta for the 10 years. He watered down most of those institutions. Right now, look at our current president. Most of the institutions are being watered down. He is now the one holding all the powers. So what I'm trying to say is that for us to implement this constitution, we must make sure that the MPs are independent, the legislature is independent, judiciary is independent, and the executive is independent. But you see, right now, if the executive wants to pass any bill, it will simply call the MPs. They'll walk into State House and they're given on what to do. So the MPs are not answerable to the people who elected them, but they're answerable to the executive. That's the biggest problem.
Yet all power belongs to the people. Article 1 of the Constitution. How come we're blaming everyone else apart from the Kenyan, who is supposed to also defend the sanctity of this Constitution? Do we have enough civic participation, or even the level of understanding of the kind of document we have, for people to feel that they need to protect it or defend it?
Let me tell you, the problem we have here, actually, the mutilation of this Constitution, I was looking at all the chapters. Most of them, almost 15, have been mutilated one or another. All the way from the Bill of Rights, leadership and integrity, public finance, legislature. I mean, they came out fighting themselves, the legislature and the executive, national security. Most of the chapters. Now, you're asking a good question. You can't blame the people because there's a social contract. The moment they went and voted, they give up most of their powers, most of their rights to government. And that's why there's a contract of 5 years. So what we should look for is actually people who have the will. Politicians look at the next election. Yeah? Statesmen look for the next generation. Can we replace politicians with statesmen? And I will keep on saying this. Fred, however much we say, there must be somebody in the steering wheel. And Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership. Somebody else said, when the head is rotted, everything else comes down. The problem we have is a systemic problem of leadership. Fred, because somebody has to be in the steering. Somebody has to be in State House. Somebody has to be the head of executive. Somebody has to be the head of legislature. Somebody has to be a speaker. Somebody has to be the head of judiciary. We allow them to simply do what is good. But unfortunately, just like happened, from 1963, the Constitution has been mutilated 5 times, depending on the political realities. By the time 1992 came, the whole thing was a shell, the old Constitution itself, because of leadership. We have people who are thinking about the next election. How am I going to push this thing? How am I going to crawl back? Get all the independent commissions to go and kneel down before me. And if somebody shouts a lot, I introduce a bill of parliament to curtail them. Can I say this? Fred, today, the biggest problem we have, there's no honesty, there's no political hygiene. When our kids look at us, sometimes I walk to the house, my kids ask me a question, I get embarrassed because of what they can watch. What the leaders are saying. These are small kids, but they can know they are being lied to. Now, if we go that way, we can go far. Let me give an example. Now, here we are, 2 days before 27th, there is a rush to proclaim so that they are able to go to KCC and say we are celebrating Katiba. But when you look at the mutilation itself, where is the honesty? I mean, I don't know how people get sleep with all this kind of dishonesty in their lives. Why can't we just say, God gave us an opportunity, Fred, to simply move this Katiba? We may not finish. Let's move it from here to there. Right. But unfortunately, the amount of dishonesty and deceit and betrayal and all these kind of things is too much.
Right.
You may blame the people, but please, the buck stops with the CEO of this country. He is the one who took the Constitution, not anybody else, to move it forward.
Right.
And it has been mutilated badly so far.
Thank you, Dr. Mbai. Yes, 15-year anniversary since the promulgation of the Constitution, the hits and misses, and we'll continue with this conversation for the rest of this week and probably the rest of this month. It's the same thing this week and this month. It's ending this weekend. Definitely a good opportunity to take stock of the gains and the clawbacks of the Constitution. That's a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation. We now switch gears and talk about matters corruption, because I know it is a big deal. Yes, and the biggest discussion in relation to corruption is what's happening to the Social Health Authority. It's a big headline on the front page of the Standard, the untouchables. We've had promises that people will be arrested, that no stone will be left unturned, and these are coming from the highest office in the land. We do have that story where President William Ruto yesterday spoke. For the very first time, broke his silence on matters to do with SHA, promising tough action, but He made a similar promise last week about the corruption in Parliament, that those involved will be arrested. We are yet to see anything. Let's listen to what the President had to say yesterday.
Amid rising doubts over the Social Health Authority, President William Ruto has come out strongly admitting there has been corruption in the new health scheme, but declaring SHA must work and it will work.
So, watch this space. SHA is going to work because we are going to eliminate fraud.
Ruto has issued a stern warning to facilities and individuals caught in the graft net, promising arrests and prosecutions.
We are not going to stop at closing the facilities. We are also going to make sure that they refund the money if ever they have been paid.
The Social Health Authority reports that 728 hospitals have been shut down for non-compliance and fraudulent claims. Another 301 have been downgraded, with 10.6 billion Kenya shillings worth of claims rejected.
Ile wizi iliangusha NHIF mpaka kukuwa na madeni ya bilioni 30. Haiwezi kufanyika ndani ya SHA.
According to the president, the digitization of SHA operations is already exposing fake facilities and stopping fraudulent claims before payouts are made.
The digitization process of SHA is what is making us to detect all the fraudulent claims, all the ghost hospitals, and all the fake patients.
Meanwhile, youthful lawmakers from the Kenya Moja wing have slammed the Social Health Authority as a well-orchestrated scam designed to steal from Kenyans. They are demanding the resignation of Health CS Aden Duale and have accused SHA of making discriminatory payout, citing Divine Sparkle Medical Center in Rangwe, Homa Bay, which received 2.8 million Kenya shillings in June, despite being among the facilities shut down by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Council between March and August 2025.
Tumepitisha kwa bunge shilingi bilioni 21 kuhakikisha ya kwamba kila mmoja wetu ambaye anaenda kwa hospitali, ile outpatient, ile unaenda unatibiwa na unaenda nyumbani, haupaswi kulipa pesa yeyote.
In August alone, 85 health facilities have been suspended by SHA. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Calls mount for CS to resign over SHA scam is a story on page 5 of the Standard. Just besides the story about the CS and the chairperson of SHA right now. But I'm more focused about the president's pronouncements. He's been seen to come out talking tough, promising arrests and prosecution, saying watch this space, promising stern action, declaring that they'll be made to refund. Yet no action is taken. He said the same thing about MPs 2 weeks ago. They said that those involved in corruption will be arrested. Nothing has happened till now. Is this simply not hot air, talking tough and not acting?
Yeah, Fred, when you say that, I remember when I was in high school in St. Mary's, Yala, we used to have a head teacher was called John Were. He was that head teacher that when he was walking from his office, you could see teachers in the staff room getting quiet and getting to read. He used not to talk. He was firm, Fred. It's not about the loudness of someone's voice that actually sends a message. God speaks to us in silence. God doesn't have to shout. And we know very well for those people who don't live well will go to hell. And those who live their life well will go to heaven. He doesn't have to preach it. So the president knows very well that what is holding this country hostage is corruption. And I want just to link the constitutionalism with the economy. There's a point I didn't make, which is a valid point, that the issue is not really the constitution. The issue is that if we don't have an economic turnaround in this country, we have a constitution that the lawyers never thought about the economic implication of implementing. You know, as an economist, whenever you come up with a law, you have to model how you'll implement it, even a contract. So imagine you go home, Fred, and tell your wife that from today we are going to take our kids to Harvard and the rest, and you don't have an income that can actually accommodate that. So that is why we missed it. Now, on the corruption thing, Fred, the problem we have is where did we miss the boat? Before we go where we missed the train we were supposed to take, we cannot understand what's going on now. What we don't have is patriotism, the love for our country. It's all about love, Fred. When you love this country, with the day we will love this country, all of us, don't point fingers. Because I saw a narrative from the PS Olunga who was saying that some people bring equipment before inspectors, then once this equipment has been passed, they take them to another facility. The same equipment is fetching money from the same government. Now, who is doing it? It's not a Tanzanian, it's not a Somalian, it's a Kenyan. But what's happening is that there's also a collusion between those inspecting and those who are presenting them. At the same time, there are some hospitals which are waiting to be inspected. You have real equipment who want to do the real job, but no one is following them. So, Fred, without solving the patriotic idea, without curing the issue of inequality, we can't solve. That's what I've always maintained. In Kenya, Kabila ni mbili. Looters and the looted. Right. So where do you belong? And when we are going to talk about leadership in 2027, we need to evolve from electing looters and start electing people who know the pain of looting.
For President William Ruto to make such declarations and fail to take action, it will be very costly for him even politically, because these are some of his flagship projects. If he keeps threatening and promising tough action, but nothing happens, that will be definitely costly for him.
Yes, indeed it will be. And I am convinced there will be action in all this. Kenya must have a Damascus moment, because we cannot develop the country against endemic, deeply rooted corruption where state resources are wantonly stolen left, right, and center. Corruption must be criminalized and punished. And I'm happy the president came out more boldly yesterday. And this time round, he was not only dealing with one institution, like he dealt with Parliament during the PG group, and Parliament. How did he deal with Parliament? And Parliament, of course, he made statements about
Just
Parliament.
Statements.
He made statements. He made statements. As a leader, he made statements, very bold statements. And Parliament, is, instead of rising to the occasion.
Do you feel that the tough statements by the president are enough to deter corruption?
No.
The statement by the president is providing leadership, very consistent, and therefore the agencies and institutions involved must rise to the occasion. That is one. Two, Fred, when the president calls out Parliament, when the president calls out executive, when the president calls out judiciary, that is very collective, and it is universal. It's a fundamental message for that matter. And I think we take advantage as a country now to rally around this message to fight corruption. When you talk about the health sector, it is one institution that has accommodated corruption in a big way for many years. Many facilities, medical facilities that are registered and they operate, they don't necessarily operate to treat, they operate to squeeze money out of Kenyans. And that is why it is becoming difficult to deal with it, and you can see what Duale is doing. You know, I would not call for Duale and team to resign, but we would encourage them to crack on these fellows harder. And it is not just about making these criminals within the health sector and health industry refund the money, but criminalize them and jail them. And this is where we need cooperation of all arms, Fred. Unless all arms cooperate.
You're making the same tough statement, just like the president.
Expeditious prosecution, because that is the truth.
Later, you're still talking tough.
The president himself cannot prosecute. It is a judiciary to do it.
He's the one who
The president himself cannot investigate. It is EACC and DPP. And as the overall leader of government, he has made a very bold statement.
This paper is pointing at particular individuals, Bwana
Untouchable.
Don't you think that's where the president should start? The chairperson of SHA, fingers have been pointed at him. The CS in charge of health, whether or not directly involved, he has failed to some extent.
Let me just ask something. When you talk about SHA, what comes in your mind? It's corruption.
Left.
Because how was it created? Under certain controversy. 2, if you look at the president's statement, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Does he need to say that? We have institutions that are put in place to work on this. But the reason why the president came out to say, look, we are going to do this, is because of the social media expose. So he was just trying to cool down the anger that was revolving around. But to me, we have institutions that are supposed to be doing that work. It's not the work of the president to say, look, we are going to arrest these people. We have the DCI, we have the EACC. But when you say a president talking like that, what does it mean? All these institutions have failed. The reason why we are here, the reason why we are discussing this thing, is because the institutions have failed. Why do we have EACC? Why do we wait for a common mwananchi, civil society, to expose these things through the social media? That look, SHA is paying whatever, non-existent. Yet we have institutions that are supposed to be doing that. We give them billions of money each and every year. But you see, these institutions are very good. When it comes to political issues, they'll move very fast and arrest someone. But when it comes to corruption issues, how many people have you seen being arrested this year? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that corruption is in Kenya. Everyone knows what is happening around. Everyone sees money being stolen left and right. But how many people have been taken to court? The reason being, all these people have connections to who is in power. That's why they cannot. For you to be appointed as CS for health, you must have certain connection. For you to be appointed the chairman of SHA, you must have certain connection. 2, the reason why you saw the president complaining that, look, parliament is corrupt, because his people are not able to work. For you to be taken to parliament, you need, like a PS, you need 10 million for you to be cleared. And it's a known thing, it's all over. For anyone to appear before this, to be vetted, for you to be cleared, you need 5 million or 10 million. These are a known thing. And you know, they're saying, look, we are taking this because the president is leading the way. The MPs are saying, look, the president bribed us to do the impeachment for Gachagua. For us to pass certain bills, we are always given money. So you see, it's a normal thing in parliament. So we need certain intervention. And I'm happy the chairman for EACC went to parliament and prayed for the corruption not to happen. But you see, prayers alone without action is nothing. So for us to see this, let me tell you, today if the president wants SHA to crack this thing on SHA, he only needs one phone call. And all those people will be put in.
Are you doubting the president's commitment on SHA?
The reason being, he talks tough, but what does he do? He doesn't implement.
All right.
Yeah.
What happens, Fred? What the president does, he knows deep inside what he's doing, but he does a lot of PR. So whatever you hear him say, don't take it seriously out there. There are 2 personalities. What he does is different from what he says. He'll go there and say how the Katiba is good and all that, but he's killing it inside every day. So all this, what you see, is not what you get. For example, when you go and say corruption is happening, yet you know that you started corruption in parliament. By the door opened during impeachment. When people know, money can be exchanged. Now, when MPs know they can get money every weekend to go and contribute in the empowerment, money they know that is coming from somewhere, they know there's a lot of money. And when an MP is given 200,000, of course, he gets half of it in his pocket. That is corruption. So don't come then and say, I'm so saddened as the head of state, you know, corruption is all over, you got the 10 million was taken. Fred, if 10 million can be used to pass anti-money laundering law, which is meant to prevent wash, and wash money is spent, what bank should recall that law? Number 1. Number 2, when you talk about, you know, what did you get the money? Now he wants to conflict between MPs so he can get clean. You know, he wants to wash himself. He wants to cleanse himself. That is what we are saying. It's not nice for this country. But look at this. Now, you go and say, you put all the independent organizations that are supposed to fight on their own corruption, you want to be the chairman. Yet, Kenyans are suspecting you to be your fingers in the honey jar. How is all this happening? And here you are here celebrating saying Katiba at 15. Now, when you say SHA will work, let me tell you something about SHA, because I know. When you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name, that is eating eggs in the compound. So people gave NHIF a bad name. If you say that it had a debt of that 3 billion, Fred, it is not that woman from Kagio Market or Molo who has paid in bills in NHIF. These are the big boys of that regime. So because you don't want, you can't remove them and put yourself, you simply put another animal called SHA. So now all the big boys of the current regime can now come into SHA and continue doing what they know best. So don't be surprised, Kenyans, please. This is something we saw a long time ago. It needed only 800, I think it should be 700 million to restructure NHIF, to upgrade it, leader mama, everything else, to move to that level. But 104 billion to create something, because there are some people who, that is according to the Auditor General, that are siphoning the little money you are giving Fred. They are siphoning in the name of, they are sustaining they are maintaining the system. Now let me go to this. SHA will not work. He says it will not work, number one. Number two, the chairman of SHA himself, he's been given so much money more than anybody else. Nothing is happening. The minister is defending him. The minister is defending himself. That is what you see in this country. Nothing is going to happen. So when he said this will happen, they will be jailed, SHA was supposed to prevent that. Already it is happening.
All right, and there's already admission by the CS that at least 1,000 hospitals have been suspended from the system for wrongdoing. Yes, the PS agrees that he even explained how some of this fraud is carried out, meaning that they're already aware of what is happening. Yet the president says that the system is foolproof, and they went for a new IT system that is foolproof. But when it comes to political responsibility, we've seen ministers and CSs being fired in the Uhuru regime for failing to take action. We've seen the former minister for agriculture almost impeached for whatever happened with the fertilizer scandal. Why is this different? Should Parliament actually seek to put the CS to account?
Fred, you see, when you hear all those things that, first of all, there's something very serious when I heard the minister saying that those hospitals that were corrupt have been suspended. But where is the money? You know, Fred, if you're a father at home, kids can't eat, but you have done shopping, your wife is in the kitchen. And you know very well it's a house help who is selling food from the kitchen and can't feed kids. And you still go and talk tough. What are you talking tough about? Mm-hmm. You can change the house help if you want. So the president has everything. By the way, Fred, I'm sure we talked about Katiba at 15. Do you know how the powers the president has been given in this constitution is very powerful, more than the previous constitution? It's a presidential system. All these agencies, the one who appoints them, he can really put them in a task force. In fact, the powers given to the president almost is paralyzing the constitution itself. In fact, if there's anybody who needs to change the constitution, they have to understand how much powers. But Fred, I'm not here to make noise. Let me go and tell you where this should be. Kenyans, all of us, must understand that corruption has a net negative effect on all of us. Let me make it clear. Let's assume, Fred, you work somewhere where you receive a total of 25,000 shillings bribery per month. You yourself have to receive that money from other people, right? You might find that you also have to bribe other people to get services using the same money. You might find that if you collect a total of 25,000 shillings a month in bribery to yourself, you may actually be paying 50,000 outside. So in the end, a corrupt system is bad for even you. So both the one receiving and the ones giving, there's a negative effect. The day we shall realize that as the bottom line of corruption, because after you get bribed, you have to go and pay a hospital bill for yourself, which could have been paid if this hospital actually were complying. If the education system was free from corruption, land titles free from corruption, ID, passport, all services are free from corruption, we don't need a lot of money. How much money do we spend in bribing where we don't get receipts for? That is the cost of corruption. Corruption has a negative effect. The second thing is that, do you remember, Fred, the president's first speech after being confirmed to have been elected president-elect was in Meru? What did he say? I'll get rid of all cartels, isn't it? Now, then they said that NHIF had too many cartels, that's why they created SHA. If you go look at that speech. Now, they were just meant that he was going to bring his own cartels because the cartels which were in NHIF were belonging to somebody else, and now bring his own dogs in SHA and then rip out off. Yes. So what I can say is, let me finish,
because of time.
I've been very brief myself consistently. So I want to say...
You've gone beyond the time allocated.
You're the one who are now, I would have been done by now. What I'm trying to say is that the president himself is the commander-in-chief, the chief thief. He cannot.
That's a very serious statement.
No. This is true because
we are not able to investigate accusing the president
the chief commander
is something different.
The chief commander, who is commandeering this theft,
Professor,
cannot
allow us to move on from that.
Cannot oversight it and cannot get rid of it.
What you're questioning now is the president's commitment to fight corruption or even to make SHA work. He said it will work, but he does not seem to exhibit the kind of push to make it work.
You know, when we get to a stage of discussing very serious issues in the country, some of us are political sharks and political scavengers.
Can you make your point?
Political scavengers. And political scavengers, you want to divert a serious issue to create political opportunities. That's why we lose the point. This nation should not be a nation of doubting Thomases. The moment we take the nation to the corridor and the highway of doubts, then we will lose the opportunity. We will lose the opportunity to execute what we must. The president has provided leadership. The president has made statements. The president is very deliberate. What is so difficult with supporting that particular cause? It is not difficult. And he made statements to all the three arms of government yesterday. And he made also statements yesterday about cracking cartels and fraudulent thieves within the space of SHA. I worked in NHIF as a board member, and I've been in the healthcare space for long. And the architecture of SHA is several times far much better than NHIF. All we need to do is to stamp out corruption, and you can see corruption fights back.
Who is stamping out corruption?
It's less than a year. It's less than a year since they rolled out.
Afraid.
Within 2 months, SHA had already disbursed 55 million to a hospital in Elwak, which does not even have the capacity to.
No, some of this information we are getting in the social media is completely inadequate, inaccurate, completely inaccurate. I've got one moderator here. I don't think you are part of. You are my fellow panelists, and I think we get a little bit civil in this debate. So, afraid, the constitutional commissions that and independent officers that are supposed to deal with corruption, that is EACC, DCI, DPP, should continue doing their work. The administrative information and data from the ministries should be able to guide those agencies to execute and prosecute. The judiciary should expedite prosecution and punishment of these individuals. It should not just be about recovery of stolen money, or assets related to stolen money, and plundered from the public, but it should also about criminally punishing these individuals. We must move as a country from words to action. And the president is already leading to the country to the zone of action. Those who don't want to see the president succeed in fighting corruption are very busy trying to bastardize. This is a
very fundamental part of society.
I think the tone that the president has set is for all of us to collectively support.
At a time when the heightened contribution by Kenyans has gone up 2.5% from everyone with a pay slip straight to this fund. And within less than a year, we are getting stories about theft and outright fraud. There should be someone to take political responsibility. There have been already calls for the CS to resign. Should that be the way?
Let me just, not only about 2.5%. You know, like now, Mama Mboga, all these other people in the informal sector, they are being told to pay 1 year in advance. They are forced to borrow money to go and pay for SHA. Yet, the money is not being used for the intended purposes. And the question is, why do you have this problem? The reason being, for you to lead a certain institution in Kenya, you must have political patronage. It's not on merit. Even if it's on merit, you must know who is who. And the reason why we're having this problem of corruption and what have you, all these people are holding bigger positions, have political patronage. There are people to protect them. But if it's a common person who was involved in looting this SHA, he would be in prison right now. But the reason being, why are they not being taken to prison? The reason being, why are they not being arrested? Why does it take the president to come out and say, look, ABC has to be done? The reason being, EACC, DCI don't have the goodwill, the political goodwill. The reason being, all those people holding those positions have been put there by certain politicians. So the biggest impediment we have in Kenya is that anyone to be appointed must have political patronage. Today, if you see EACC moving in to arrest these people, tomorrow you'll see them being disbanded, unless they get certain okay from certain quarters. But my biggest worry, like what I want to say is this: for us to succeed, we must remove politics from appointments. The reason being, in Kenya, most of the people who have been appointed, they're either political losers or they have some political connection. And once you have that political connection, in case something happens to you, you'll simply make a phone call. That's why the president has to come out and say ABC. So what we are asking the president is this: you have said the EACC, whatever, they must crack the whip. We need to see people being taken to court. We need to see not only about SHA. Corruption is all over from the start about SHA. So what I'm saying, I'm asking the president, for Kenyans to have trust in him, for Kenyans to have faith in him, let him start by cracking the whip.
Right.
2, now you're closing certain hospitals. And you know, like in certain areas, they are helping the people there. I get that. What do we do if you are closing this institution? Do we have an alternative institution within that area? That's another question. Right. The reason being, there are certain areas where, like, a government hospitals have been closed. Like in my area, this one, I think, which has been serving the locals. So should you close that hospital? What about the patients? What about people who come from that area? What's going to happen?
All right.
Okay.
Final word on this, and should the CS take political responsibility?
Now, not CS should take political responsibility. He should be out by now if we knew, or if we are serious about anything about life and integrity and corruption. But he can't, and he will not be sacked. You mentioned about parliament, they will do nothing. And envelopes will change hands. There is no political goodwill to handle Duare. So what will happen, even if it goes to parliament, even if Auditor General, let me tell you, there is a report on SHA about Auditor General questioning all these things. It is lying in parliament. There is a report from Auditor General on housing levy. It's lying in parliament. There is a report on e-citizen from the Auditor General. It's lying in parliament. Goes to schools, capitation theft, the issue of KPC sale. All those bombers deal, they are lying in parliament, Fred. Nothing will happen. No, that's why he said something very important. Yesterday somebody asked me, what will happen if you close 1,000 hospitals? Is that a celebration? What will happen to the people down there? That's number one. But number two, I can tell you this. The promise of SHA was this, Fred, that people will pay 300,000 or so, depending on their incomes. Then the most vulnerable will be paid for by the state. The story changed, you must pay 1 year. Then, remember, don't give us those figures of 22 million. Fred, only the people who are being forced to pay for SHA are contributing. The informal sector, nobody. I think it's less than 10%. The figures are there. Out of the 22 million, only 4 million are contributing. Most of them are in the formal sector, where money is taken by force. If no money comes in, then it cannot be sustainable. Why? Because there's no trust. People used to contribute to NHIF because they knew if I pay 500, I'll go and get treatment. Today, people are dying from all those diseases because they don't have faith in SHA. That is the problem that we have. But let me tell you this, Fred. When people ask us why we are saying one term, now we don't need to go to the answer anymore. It's because of the pain we see. The pain of literally being milked dry. The pain of money lost in e-citizen, in housing levy. There are a lot of private interest inside all these things. Issues on Adani, issues on Bombas. Today, nobody knows what is happening there. No public information. Issues on grabbed things. When there is a housing levy here, there are like over 32 consultants today working on housing project. 32. Who they do, nobody knows. Yet they are paid every month. Money is flowing like nothing. So much money until there's more money to be taken to treasury bids. Now, when we say one term, Fred, is a pain of literally saving this country. Literally, from whatever we can do. But because we are good people and we are patriots, we are saying, God, keep us alive until 2027. That's why the pain is there across the country. People are paining. And by the way, people don't need to be told anything about these stories. People can see, can watch, look at the social media and see how the country is bleeding. All these stories, people have come to an end. By the way, Kenyans have come to an end. There's only one line from the national anthem. Justice be our shield and defender. Our last line, Fred, today is the Constitution, or rather, the judiciary. Those are people who are going to save this country.
All right.
That's why we have a team of over 30, 50 lawyers from across the country who are every day looking at all these things and lashing to court to try to make sense. Corruption issue, out. Because you cannot bring all these institutions and put them in your office. The compensation issue, Fred, is illegal. It's not according to the Constitution. Because you cannot, there's Victim Protection Act. Instead of simply giving it life, to go and deal with victims of compensation, you want to take again the power and put something in your office.
Okay.
We have to go back to court and tell the court, please protect us from this kind of thievery, bribery, corruption, because we are done.
Okay. Thank you for that, gentlemen. And I want us now to move to the final part of this show where we discuss some politics. Because on two dailies, this is the People Daily, the front page, they talk about how opposition strongholds are rising. And they talk about the layout of whom they call cousins, what they call the United Opposition. On the front page of the Star, something similar, opposition and Ruto marshal forces for 2027 showdown. Yesterday, the president hosted a team from Kiambu County who have already declared that they want to delink themselves from the bigger Mount Kenya region. We do have, as part of the stories, covered here TV47, Kiambu wants to abandon the mountain. Let's take that story so that we can come and that forms the basis of our discussion as we end this show.
Mimi nakubaliana na wale wanasema Kiambu inatoshana ki-region yenyewe. Neguo kana teguo. Si Kiambu ni fire jameni. Ni fire si fire.
Bao unafanya kazi na wao walikuambia juzi. We have been Christian the people of Mount Kenya. Lakini hawa watu wa Kiambu ile milima wanaona ni Gong Hills na Kilimambogo. Na wamesema wao they are a region by themselves. Kiambu ni region mzima ikiwa peke yake. Kanatiguo. Tono tukanie kaunti ithathatũ na citingikinyira andu aria me thiini wa Kiambu. Na kwa hivyo Your Excellency, tukija kwa wingi ni sababu tuko wengi na kura pia tulikopea kwa wingi 2022.
Yes. Right. The president has been criticized for adopting a divide and rule system to try and marshal support come 2027. Do you think that is what he's doing?
Well, I mean, there have been so many strategies and people are just saying, you know, William Ruto is smart, he has a strategy and the rest. But Fred, opinion poll shows that William Ruto is not lacking support of 86% of Kenyans. William Ruto has become that leader who looks like this thing they talk about, umbwa mwitu. Penye everywhere is being chased, one term here, one term there, everyone is shouting this. And I want to say there's a wave. There's a wave, and this wave will go down with somebody. And that person, everyone knows. There's a flood. You know, when you build on the route for water, the flood will come and sweep that building down, no matter how strong it is. The Titanic went down. Is William Ruto bigger than Titanic? And this wave will bring down the Titanic, if it is a Titanic. So no matter what you do, tribal things are not the issue. Fred, since I was born, there is no community that has ruled Kenya, none. Kenya has been ruled by individuals. And those individuals are trying to use the community to pretend they are ruling on behalf of the community. Kikuyus have had it, a leader from Kikuyu land, for more than 25 years, isn't it? Kalenjins have had it. Now they are doing almost 30-something years. If you go to those areas, poverty is still eating those people. So there's no bank account for any community whereby if a leader becomes president, that account becomes bigger, the community enjoys. All these things are those people going to settle, those are just going to collect taxes on their own behalf. And they don't care about the people down there. We have Luo Nyanza, some of them call the same broad-based government. And the people who are dying there with the poverty is amazing. So according to me, the call is very clear. And even if you try to bring tribal issues, Kenyans went to the street on 25th of June, and the calling was one, reject the finance bill. It is an economic revolution. It's not a political revolution. It's not a tribal revolution. There is no tribe that is overbearing anyone. So tribal machinization will not work. And I want to say that when you look at now the issue of opposition figures there rising, though People's Daily are galvanizing them around tribes, they are not in the tribe basket. Mm-hmm. Kenyans are going to vote in the issues around. And if we cannot change the economy, if we cannot turn around the economy, mark my wife, Fred, even if Jesus Christ was to become the president of Kenya, even Catholics will say Jesus must go. Why? Because the economy is biting people so painfully. And if you look at the numbers of poverty levels are big, youth unemployment is a crazy idea. 1 million graduate from campus every year joining the jobless market. These cannot be solved by tribal, let's say, or coalitions. Even if we are talking about one term is the largest candidate in Kenya, but it has not yet gotten the person behind it. So at the moment it's leading, but opposition also have to find a way on which, who is this leading candidate among this one-term call. Okay. And if you look at those figures there, some of those people who seem to control those areas, they're not controlling them, because one thing which is lacking, let me land, Fred, some of those people have this word, former this, former that, former this, former that, former what? If they were not to be able to do anything in the former, why are we trust them in the current and the future?
We have a former SG for KNUT and also...
Yes, they never did anything, so former is nothing.
What do you make of these meetings?
And I finished,
from
I did my job and closed my file. I'm in another life.
Yes.
Yeah, I think trying to take the country and project the outcome of 2027 is too early. We are several months to the next election. And I think what should occupy our minds and should be at the center stage is the transformation agenda of the country. And that is what preoccupies the president. The meeting he had with the people of Kiambu yesterday, I think it measured on development issues very, very seriously. Don't read too much in terms of politics, because I think we are so enslaved to political happenings than to other critical transformation milestones in terms of changing the country, which the president actually promised. And let me tell you, the president will be re-elected on the overall performance around the pillars, the management of the economy, and general stabilization of the country, which I don't think we've had a very open president who is very inclusive, very transformative, and who has also managed to calibrate the economy and stabilize it within a short time from where he found it. The shilling is very stable. The growth rate. No.
Which country are you talking about?
The growth rate. I'm talking about Kenya. I'm not talking about what is in your minds, because your minds is a ballot box. These two, their minds, they are seeing the ballot box of 2020.
He has stabilized whose economy? Whose economy have they stabilized? Are they the cronies and friends of the Kenyan economy?
The figures are clear. When inflation rate has come down from 9% to between 2.8 to 4%, and it has stabilized, that gives a surety of unlimited access of goods and services by Kenyans. That's an economic fact. Okay. When the growth rate is above 5%, that is very significant and has been ranked as one of the best in the world. That is a very good indicator.
Really?
When the shilling against the dollar is stabilized, those are facts. When we are out of debt distress, those are facts. And the delivery in terms of the pillars, delivery in agriculture, in housing, UHC, despite the challenges, I think the president has been very brave. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, it is Kenyans, all of us Kenyans who will speak.
Thank you, Bwana Susu.
But not two bitter individuals who would like to demonize everything that is going on.
Bwana Baraza, it would appear that
I think the overall delivery
change,
will
still
determine.
taking a tribal outlook. as we go towards 2027. Even the president himself is just meeting groupings that are looking more tribal at State House, Nairobi.
You see, the problem in Kenya is that politics is tribal. If you are from a certain region, you become the kingpin, you'll be able to control that region. For example, Kikuyus have got their own kingpin. Kalenjins have got their own kingpin. Luyas are now looking for their own kingpin. Luos have got their own. So for right now, if you want to succeed in politics, especially for the bigger position, you have to look for certain tribe. And that's why the president was meeting Kikuyus in State House yesterday. And to me, that's a wrong trajectory. The reason being, we should not start meeting certain areas just because we want to lure them to give us votes. Like yesterday, he was saying now he wants to have Kiambu so that they can get development. But you ask yourself, where do you get development? Is it not from parliament? Do you get it from the president, or it has to go through the budget so the development can be gone? Are you getting that? Now, the president is trying to lure certain regions using development, which is wrong. The reason being, like us, for example, Luyas, we've not been to State House. Are you not going to get development? We're not, because unless you visit the president, it means you not get development. So my point is this: the president should stop those tribal meetings. The reason being, it creates a very bad impression in the Kenyans. We should just treat ourselves as Kenyans. If I'm to meet people, let it from several regions. But you see now, when you tell them that, look, we want to move away from Mount Kenya region, what impression are you trying to create to people? So it means Mount Kenya region has been taken by a certain person. Now they want to take away Kiambu from Mount Kenya so that the other region remains and the other one joins the other one. So my point, what I'm trying to say is this: Kenyans, we should move away from tribal politics. We should look at ourselves as Kenyans, the way Gen Zs used to say, we should be tribalists, we should just be Kenyans. So what I'm asking the president to do, he should avoid talking about tribal politics. He should just be talking about Kenyans.
Okay.
And that's what I should say.
Yes.
Two things come to mind. Number one, I want to urge Kenyans, don't be distracted by diversions. Oh, let us do a referendum. Oh, let's do the retire. We just want now to move Kenyans to begin now talking things that don't, they are not important to the Kenyans. Kenyans are paining. They're simply waiting for the clock to move towards the next elections, like you're asking. This issue of Kiambu or to move from Mount Kenya, please don't be diverted by this kind of drama. These are drama, some slogans being get for some people to divert attention. One, who talks about moving from where? We have counties today. We don't have what for? But number two, and please, I want to urge everybody who is going to be speaking as a leader. And that's why I have a problem with the people who call themselves leaders, either in government, even analysts, to begin talking about tribes. That is kind of talk about communities. When you talk about tribes, I mean, and I see people being called senators, leaders all over in government, talking about tribes. Let's talk about communities. It's a more better word. Let's not behave like we are. So we talk about Kamba nation. We talk about Kalenjin nation, Kikuyu nation. It's okay for people of a nation, Fred, to talk about a certain cause. There is no harm with meeting people. The other day he met Kisii people. That's why when the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is invited by the Kikuyu nation in diaspora, that's okay because they're the ones who paid for his ticket. You don't want to go to a game festival. It's not sung in Luo, game festival in the USA. If Abagusi community invited him for SDA, he went. Because people are organized by communities. What is wrong is a negative ethnicity. I mean, please, you can listen because I'm an authority on peace and conflict studies. Let's not make like being a lawyer is something bad. Actually, we are telling lawyers right now. You know, I like the way he said that everybody else has a kingpin except lawyers. Please, lawyers, go sit down with all your, and please come up with somebody who can help you to discuss about the future. There is nothing wrong. We cannot demonize Fred being organized in communities. Long time ago, that's what used to happen before the colonialists come. Number two, let me tell you, the Kiambu people that you saw, I'll tell you today, the rating today, before the president went to Mount Kenya region, his rating was 14.9% in Mount Kenya, before he went around. When he came, and he is scientific, he loves science, so he'll send opinion polls. It was 4.9%. When he went around, he asked for another poll, it came down to 9.7. Now, then the people who advised him told him, no, you shouldn't have come yourself, let's first of all go to economic empowerment. Some more money was splashed out for economic empowerment. Now, right now, it's going to 4.9%. Now they are saying the solution is, let's go county by county. I'm here on behalf of Nakuru County. We are not going to go to that shenanigans of saying, oh, we are not this. Nakuru County is the face of this country. We are going to live together with all the communities. We are not going to be saying, oh, we want to get aside. We are not going to be part of this. Okay. Nakuru is face. We are not going to be drawn to that kind of a thing. As we speak today, the rating of the president in Mount Kenya is about below 3%. Okay. And I can tell you this. So the Kiambu already has about 1.5 million voters. The ones you saw there is okay. The only thing I saw, I don't know what is true. They were given, the Kisii and the other communities that were there, they were given 2,000 each. These ones were given 10,000. So let us have equality. So soon you can pass that one. Right. Everybody going to
4 minutes
are going to
the end of the show.
To State House.
Each,
let's be fair.
60 seconds only for your parting shot, starting with you, Prof. And let's keep to time.
First of all, let me say that all these things you are seeing at the DCI, NIS, Judiciary, what will fight corruption, multitask agency, those are small screens because the country needs leadership and you lead in fighting corruption. You don't shout at it. Corruption looks like weather everybody complains about it. Just put on your jacket and weather the storm. Secondly, these politicians tend to campaign to us, giving us Singapore standards during the campaign. After the election, they now start executing and comparing us to South Sudan and Ethiopia and the rest. Let them live by the standards which they put across. And I want to say that Singapore declared corruption national threat to national security, national unity, national prosperity, and national competitiveness. Those are the things we need to do. And I want to say that President William Ruto should not tell people that he wants to take one region around Kenya this way. If you love a region, you can't divide it, you keep it together. A father never divides his children. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Buena Sossion, you go next.
I think the president's call and mobilization of the country and mobilizing all the three arms of government to fight corruption must be supported. Kenya must have a Damascus moment to deal with corruption, face corruption viciously. And corruption must be criminalized and punished, and therefore agencies involved should be coordinated and should work from EACC, DPP, DCI, NIS, and all the rest, including the judiciary. That's a fact for sure. If we don't collectively support the cause for corruption, then we are taking the country to the abyss. So we have a choice, all of us, to collectively support the fight against corruption. And for matters to do with 2027 is still too far. The transformational agenda by the president must be supported, particularly UHC. It's key. For all households in the country, delivery of quality education, it is key. And,
Thank you,
and therefore, all the other pillars must be delivered. Once the pillars are delivered, they are not delivered for the president, but they're delivered for the people of Kenya. And I think that is a big agenda. And for 2027, it will be an event on one day, the first week of August. And of course, President William Ruto will be re-elected.
Your 60 seconds, Bwana Baraza.
I think my call is to fight corruption. Because once we fight corruption, everything will fall in place. So like what I'm only asking, those institutions that are meant to fight corruption, they should also be able to hold politicians accountable. Because like you see every weekend, a politician giving out 3 million, another one who has a salary of 700,000, giving 2 million, 1 million. Once we crack on corruption, once we crack on contribution, then it means that everything is going to flow. For us to succeed as a country, we must wipe corruption out of this country. And I'm asking the president, for him to leave a legacy, the first thing to do is to crack corruption. If you can crack corruption, everything will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baraza.
Just two things, Fred. One, from where I sit, any more appealing to the president to fight corruption, it will not work. 3 years, it has not worked. We gave him the opportunity, and thank God we did, and we don't regret, by the way, because it's also good to give people opportunities, and opportunities to be president. But unfortunately, and I want to say very sorry to the Kenyan people, because some of us were involved in this government, and unfortunately, whatever we had hoped is no longer working. And from delivering the plan, we are now delivering one term to just save the Kenyans from all this kind of trouble. But I want to appeal, and this is very important. Fred, please, let us do politics. Let us stop chasing each other to kill people. Please, the person of Honorable Rigathi Gachagua supported this government. He went out of his way to support, to contribute towards 47%. He never resigned from government. He was kicked out. He's a Kenyan like any other. So you cannot plan to, first of all, try to arrest him. When it fails when he's coming back, then you go to attacking with guns. Fred, I was in that place. The Honorable Rigathi Gachagua was supposed to die that day. I'm asking my president, because I voted for him. Please, Mr. President, we all believe in God. You cannot begin chasing somebody who helped you to be president. Please keep off the issue of following to harm the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. It's not necessary, it is not godly, it's not legal. And by the way, the same God who put you there is the same God with Rigathi Gachagua.
All right.
Let us not go that direction. It's not going to be nice for this country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Mbae, Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP. Zakaria Baraza, political analyst, Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, former SGK and UT, and also a former member of the National Assembly, and Professor Fred Ogola, economics and governance expert. Our panelists this morning on State of the Nation right here at TV47. Thank you so much for your time this morning. The headlines this morning on The Standard, the untouchables, who are they? Their faces are plastered there on the front page of The Standard. New bid to amend the Constitution, of course, discussions going on after Katiba Day as we continue to mark 15 years since the promulgation of the Constitution. Other headlines, Taifa Leo mpasuko wanukia ODM, tukuzungumzia hayo. Away from the regional matters, shake up, new laws pave way for NSE listing of parastatals. That's on The Star. Fresh, independent, different, and on the People Daily Matters Politics, how opposition strongholds are rising. My name is Fred Indimule. Good morning.